Hello, everybody. This is Josie Tong, broadcasting from Sydney, and my warmest welcome to all of you who are joining us tonight. I can see people logged in from all around Australia. There are people from New Zealand, people from Indonesia, Jakarta, wow, and people from the Philippines. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight. When I first started in 2009, I remember him as the main trainer and presenter at major Sydney events that I attended. And I can tell you that I learned my first skills in the business from this amazing leader, Raman Chen. So at the age of 18, whilst others, his friends, spent time partying, Raman had other ideas. Motivated by the desire to give back and help his mom, he started building his Usana business part-time. Facing many obstacles and initial rejection, Raman realized he had to learn and grow himself very rapidly in order to have success in his business. So that's very, very smart. So over the years, he has acquired a masterful grasp of basic skills, which he believes is the key to achieving your ultimate goals. As a diamond director, Raman passionately trains and guides young entrepreneurs to be independent and empowers them to be leaders. So, over the next 3 weeks, Raman will share with us his level 2 basic training that will help to establish a solid foundation for your Usana business to prepare it for explosive growth. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Diamond Director Raman Chen.
Does that mean I'm on now? All right, fantastic. So I hope everyone can hear me. If you can't, just make sure to leave a message in the chat and tell me to turn my volume up or whatever it may be. It is my absolute pleasure to be doing these series of trainings for you guys. Normally, these trainings are actually just reserved for my team, but Josie has been after me to do this for everyone for a while now, and I feel like this is a very good time to let everybody I guess get some of the training that I give out a lot, especially to people who are past that initial phase of their business. As a lot of you know, that I'm heading over to Indonesia now. So if you guys don't know that much about me, I started this business back in 2004 when I was only 18 years old, and I've been involved with Usana now for over 10 years. And so you'll see here that this training is called the Team Epic Basic Training. And if you don't know what Team Epic is, Team Epic is actually the team that we used, well, the Gen Y leaders got together a few years ago to help create a community to help a lot of young people basically achieve success in this business. And so we realized that, especially as Gen Y, we really needed to treat this business as a business. Let's make sure I'm actually doing this right. We actually treat this business as a business. And so what's very important is that we needed to practice and actually put into practice the skills that are very necessary for actual success. So can you actually let me know if you can see my screen yet? Because I've tried to share it again. Can everyone see the screen? I'm going to have to wait a little bit and just let me know. I'm going to keep talking and just let me know if you can see my screen. Fantastic. Okay, so this is the first of a series of different trainings. For every single person that joins Team Epic, we do a basic training 101, which takes them through very briefly the rough outline of all the skills and I guess a lot of the mindset training that they need to actually get off the ground. But as they move along, they're going to realize that, especially in terms of prospecting, inviting, it can come in many different forms and also in many different ways and effectivenesses, I guess. And so this is the next level up. So this is basic training 201, which is prospecting, inviting. 202 is going to be about presenting. No one can see it yet? Oh, wow. It says I'm actually screen sharing right now. So I don't know what's actually happening with that. Okay, now it's on. All right, fantastic. So yes, this is 201, which is prospecting, inviting. 202 is going to be about presenting and handling objections, and 203 will be about the follow-up and also building team culture. And so I'm just going to move ahead, and actually get started with this. So the First and foremost, prospecting. Now, a lot of people know what prospecting is. You're told that as soon as you start this business, you got to start prospecting. But there's varying degrees of effectiveness when it comes to prospecting. A lot of people prospect different ways or whatever they've been taught by their upline and whatnot. I myself was taught by many different mentors, and I really actually had to find a way that would work not just for myself, but also for this market. Because around the time when I started, there really wasn't much of a Caucasian or English-speaking presence in terms of the USANA market here in Australia. And so I was taught a lot by the Chinese community, and they had a different way of prospecting as the way I'm going to show you guys now. And so their approach was very much focused on technical knowledge and knowing a lot about the products and knowing a lot about the business and basically explaining to people the plan and etc. and things like that. But what I realized was that that didn't necessarily transfer across to this market, the English-speaking market. And therefore, I had to go look for different mentors and different teachers to teach me different things. And so this way of prospecting is what I found to be the most effective in this market, and also with across a varying degree of age ranges. So even though this is Team Epic is a Gen Y team, but we have a lot of people from all different age ranges and of course generations, and this is going to be something very, very effective with that. So in terms of prospecting, this is what we're going to go through today. One, what is prospecting? Why do we need to prospect? Who do we prospect? And of course, how do we prospect? And of course, let's start with the what is prospecting. A lot of people really don't actually understand this term prospecting. Prospecting is a term that was used a long, long time ago in terms of hunting for gold, right? So when the gold rush happened here in Australia and over, of course, in the United States back in the early whatever hundreds, prospecting was the method by which you would go through a bunch of dirt and a bunch of crap so that you could find the specks of gold. True? And so this is technically what we're really doing. We're shifting, we're sifting, we're sorting through what is not gold and what is gold. And by gold, of course, I mean your gold directors. And so prospecting isn't really so much about explaining what our products are and selling to people, but more so much as an activity or conversation that you can engage in to position yourself in front of a prospect with the intention to inquire, assess, discover, and educate so that you can determine whether there's a fit and a relationship that's worth pursuing, which can then lead to presenting your product or service in order to earn your prospect's business. Now, what that really all sums down to is that what you're actually trying to do is find out if there is a right fit between you and what you have and the person you're trying to speak to. And so it's not so much about selling the traditional sense, which a lot of people are used to, especially coming from retail or coming from other forms of sales. But what we're actually trying to assess is whether or not what we have here in USANA can actually help them. Is it something that they're actually looking for? Because at the end of the day, our time is very precious. And if you look at your business as a business, then you need to know that what you do and what you spend your time on is going to have drastic impact on the results that you get. And so if you're wasting a lot of time on people who don't deserve your time, or if you're wasting a lot of time on people who this just isn't right for, then of course you're going to be not getting the results that you want. And often in the end, that's usually the case. Most people don't prospect the right way, and they end up wasting a bunch of time on people who actually don't want anything. And so, like I said before, prospecting is about sorting. And so this is what we're actually trying to do. We're trying to sort out what exactly is it that we have that you want or need, or whether or not you need it at all or want it at all. And so why do we need to prospect? Well, this is very, very simple. Well, first and foremost, of course, we know we're doing this to actually share Dr. Wentz's vision. Now, this always comes first. The USANA, the company, the products, everything was founded on Dr. Wentz's vision. So the health side of things and, of course, Dr. Wentz's vision comes first. And, of course, we got to promote our USANA products and business opportunity to give more people the chance to gain true health and true wealth. And that's why the reason why you guys got started in USANA. Don't forget that. A lot of people tend to forget why it is they got started in USANA themselves, and then all of a sudden, as soon as they're in, they treat people who are not in a completely different way, and they forget what it is that attracted them to this business in the first place. And also, it's the only way to actually grow a business and, of course, help more people. You got to talk to people. You got to actually be out there. You need to be prospecting people on a constant basis. So Well, who do we actually prospect? Now, if you guys ever did the e-apprentice, you remember this diagram here. And of course, this is the different markets of people in your vicinity, or the people that you know that you can actually prospect. Now, a lot of people say that I don't know anyone, where do I even start? Well, scientific studies have shown that from the age of 0 to 18, by the time you are 18, you actually know about 2,000 people on a first name basis. You might not remember them all, but you will know at least 2,000 people on average on a first name basis. Some people will know a lot more, some people might be a bit less, but either which way, 2,000 is the average. Of course, first and foremost, we want to start with what is known as your hot market, which is your close friends and your family, and of course, their referrals. The reason we start with your hot market is because I'll go a little bit about this later on, but rapport is actually already there. And then you want to move on to your warm market, which is, of course, friends and families, referrals, and the occasional acquaintances, people you bump into every now and then. Those are people you can talk to. And then, of course, there's direct cold market, and then there's indirect cold market. And so these are the different ranges of people. So as you can see, what this diagram is actually showing you is who do we prospect? In essence, it's actually every single person. We need to be talking to every single person. Now, what we talk to them about, though, and what we're actually sharing with them and the time that we spend with them in our talks, now that's going to vary from person to person. Of course, we don't want you to, of course, try to data dump and, of course, verbal diarrhea, as Todd Falcone was talking about over the weekend, on every single person that you meet. You know, that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. But then, of course, we do want to talk to everyone. Now, in the Basic Training 101, if you guys have done that in Epic, you'll know that, you know, we say less to more. We say less things to more people. Rather than say a whole bunch of stuff to one or two people around you, say less but to more people. And so, of course, who do we prospect is absolutely everyone. So let me get into a little bit more about what you're actually going to be doing. So before we start, first and foremost, you need to have the right attitude. What do I mean by the right attitude? The right attitude is to place yourself in the position of a problem solver. You don't want to place yourself in a position where you're a product expert. You don't want to place yourself in a position where you're some kind of finance expert. You don't want to put yourself in a position or have this attitude mindset that, you know, my stuff is so good, my company is the best, my products are so good. If you're not taking my stuff, you're an idiot. If you don't like my plan, then, you know, go to hell and stuff like that. You don't want to put yourself in that position. You want to put yourself in the position of a problem solver. You're looking for a problem that you can solve. You're looking for some way or form that you can actually help these people or help the people you're going to talk to. So the focus will always be on them. So I want you guys to think back. Think back to when you got started in this business. Now, when you had a look at USANA, when you had a look at the compensation plan, or you had a look at this business and this opportunity, were you thinking, wow, these products are so great, I should get them because they're so great, or, you know, this plan is so great, I should do it because, you know, it's so fair, the binary thing is so cool, you know, Dr. Wentz is amazing. More so likely, what would have happened is that you saw that these products are so great, it can do this for me, or this business or this plan seems really fair, it can do this or that for me. Does that make sense? Everyone doesn't think about USANA in terms of USANA. They think about USANA in terms of themselves. They always think, what can this give to me? What can this product give to me? What can this opportunity give to me? And that was you when you actually got started in this. And so you got to remember, that's the case again when you talk to other people. Everyone else is going to be thinking the exact same thing. What's in it for me? Yes, your product is great. You might be a product expert. You might be a finance expert. But what does that mean to me? Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? And so, of course, the focus has to be on them. Another key point is, of course, learn to listen. You must learn to listen. You have no idea how often I see this. I do a lot of study myself on self-study on body language, and I love looking at people's body language and analyzing people's body language, and I love observing people. It's just something fun to me to watch human beings interact. Now, in a proper conversation, it should be one person talks and one person listens, correct? Most people would think that, you know, common sense, one person talks, one person listens. But if you have a look around next time, you'll find that the majority of conversations you see is not one person talking and one person listening, but instead it's one person talking and the other person waiting for their turn to speak. And so that creates a huge conflict in terms of what you're actually trying to achieve with someone, because nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And so you must learn to listen. Now, we were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we need to listen twice and speak only once. However, most often I find a lot of people think that they've got mouths on their ears and on their eyes and on their nose, and they're speaking 26 times. You can't get a word in edgewise. And so you find that the most successful people dominate the listening. I'll repeat that. The most successful people dominate the listening. They want to be the ones asking the questions. They want to be the ones doing the listening. They don't want to be the ones doing the talking. Now, the unsuccessful people, they're the ones who love to talk, 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 talk. And they're the ones who actually end up getting nowhere with their businesses. So learn to listen and ask very good questions. Always ask very good questions. And the key there in terms of asking questions is to never prejudge or assume. We do not want to prejudge or assume whether or not someone will get started with us. We don't want to prejudge or assume whether or not someone can afford or should take these products or whatnot. We want to make the offer. We want to ask the question and then find out from them. This is what I absolutely love about this business, because they will tell you what they are. I often find that this is a bit of a hanging point, especially in the Chinese speaking market. They think that every single person they talk to should get started. And if they don't start now, they will start at some point. And yes, probably that is true to an extent, but that creates a lot of, I guess, uh, I won't say stigma. It creates a lot of backlash. It creates a lot of negativity surrounding this industry, and surrounding, the stereotypes that people have for us. I believe that network marketing has evolved a long way since the days that it came around, and of course, even from the day I started to now, over the last 10 years, network marketing has evolved a lot. I want us as USANA, well, even my team and all your teams, to do network marketing differently. I want you guys to be different. I don't want you guys to live up to the stereotype of the pushy people who are just trying to sneak attack your friends by tricking them into coming over for a cup of coffee and then all of a sudden doing a 2-hour presentation about USANA on them. Please don't do that. I've had that done to me, and I hate that. And I'm sure you've had that done to you or heard people have done that done to them, and you hate that too. So never do things that you will not want to do unto yourselves. And so we don't want to prejudge. We do not want to assume. People will let you know whether or not they're going to use the product, whether or not they're going to join your business, and after they join, whether or not they're going to be a leader or they're just going to be a bench warmer. They're going to let you know. We don't want to change people. We don't want to care about that. We just want to find out what they are and then spend our time to the people who deserves it, who deserves our times. And so, of course, that's why it's very important to ask good questions. So a lot of guys are asking now, well, you said that we need to ask good questions, but what exactly are these questions that we actually need to ask? Well, what I've found personally is that the next 4 steps, if you follow them step by step, you can actually get them from a 0 to a 10, in terms of 0 being they want nothing to with USANA and 10 being sign me up right now. You guys interested? All right, so I'm going to assume you are, and I'm just going to move on, otherwise you guys wouldn't be here. So what are these 4 steps? Now, actually, before we start, I want you to remember that your goal is not to give them a presentation. So when you ask questions and when you're prospecting, do not give them a presentation. Don't get drawn into talking about the products, the plan, or the company unless absolutely necessary. And of course, here's a checklist of things to do before you even try to prospect or invite someone. Make sure you have ample time, make sure you're in the right mood, and make sure it's a good time for them. If you yourself just had a fight with the significant other, don't pick up the phone. If you're feeling a bit down because something happened, don't pick up the phone. We never want to transfer that onto other people, all right? And of course, the reason why we want to be in a good mood is because, remember, we want to put ourselves in that right attitude, right frame of mind of being a problem solver. If you enter a prospecting, I guess, a phase, or not phase, but just, when you start to prospect and you have other things on your mind, as in you're thinking, man, I'm going to talk to you because I need my platinum. I just need 4. I need my 4. I'm going to talk to you. You're going to be one of my 4. And that's what you're focused on. People are going to sense that. If you're saying, man, I really need a sale, I really need to move some product this week, I'm so close to my recommend, and this desperation or this stuff, this comes across, they're not going to want to do business with you. They're not want to going to do anything with you. So of course, put yourself in the right frame of mind, be in the right mood. Always ask if it's the right time for them, and make sure there's not going to be any interruptions on either which way when you ask these questions that I'm going to show you guys soon. All right, so the 4 steps. First and foremost is, of course, building rapport. Now, what is rapport? Rapport is defined, I guess, by just the relationship between yourself and the person you're talking to. Now, having good rapport means that they are willing to trust you, they're willing to listen to you. And how long does building rapport take? A lot of people ask, how long should this take? How long does it take me to warm them up? I find some people are eternally stuck in this phase of warming people up. I always talk to them. So how about that person on your list, or how about this person? I go, hey, it's okay. I'm just warming them up. I'm just warming them up. 6 months later, what's going on? I'm still warming them up. And sometimes that may be the case, but the thing with building rapport is it takes as long as it does take. And so there are times where you can build rapport very fast, and there are times when rapport building will take a bit slower. Usually what I recommend is with the people who rapport building is taking a long time for, don't push the issue. Don't worry too much about it. Move on to somebody else. It's just like your friends that you have now, or the loved ones that you have around you. When you have the rapport, you have the rapport. When you don't have rapport, you just don't have rapport. There are just times when you don't click. There are those people you meet where you just can't be, when you just can't be friends. True? Sometimes, you meet these people and it's like you just don't like them. And sometimes people are just not going to like you. And so if that is the case and rapport building is taking you a long time, that's okay. Move on. There's a whole 1-hour training that I do on actual building rapport, but of course we don't have time for that right now. And so I'll give you a quick run through of what I'm talking about. In terms of building rapport, just keep this one key thing in mind. Talk to people who are wanting to talk to you. Talk to people who want to talk to you. If they don't want to talk to you, don't talk to them. Don't bother. Don't waste your time. Move on to somebody else. When you say hi to a complete stranger, especially when it comes to cold market, you're like, hey, how's your day? And they're just like, Don't try to be overly nice and try to warm them up and say something nice and move on. Go to that nice girl or that nice gentleman who's serving you and who's very friendly with you and who's very courteous and is willing to tell you all about their day. Find these open people and talk to the people who want to talk to you. And of course, rapport building, remember, it takes as long as it takes. So that's why we always want to start with the hot market. So now that you've entered this rapport building phase and you've done all that stuff, you've talked to them, you've got them to a point where they actually trust you. They're willing to listen to what you have to say. What do you do next? Well, the next part is, I find this part is the most widely skipped part, the need and the disturb. So a lot of people do find a need. A lot of people do go out there, they form HD and they find the need, but the problem is they don't disturb them. Now, so in the basic training that a lot of you guys have done, you know that we're trying to look for what's known as a hot button. But has a lot of you guys wondered why it's called a hot button? So what are buttons made for? Buttons are made for pushing. And so once you find the hot button, the next step is you actually have to push that hot button. And so you really need to disturb them. And so this is the part I find that if you can do this need and disturb part well, 90% of your job is already done. You've already opened the door to a whole wide range of success for you that you weren't doing before. Most people build a bit of rapport, try to find a need, and all of a sudden jump into the next step. But they don't disturb, they don't explore that need, and they don't properly prospect and really find out about this person. Do you guys remember what I said earlier? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so this need and disturb part is very, very important to let people know how much you do care. And this need and disturb part will only work if you have built the right rapport with people. And so, of course, the build rapport needs to come first, and then you need to do the need and disturb. Right? So this what most widely skipped part. A lot of people are wondering, well, how do I do this need and disturb thing? I know how to find a need. You talk to them a little bit. You ask Form HD questions. If you guys don't know what Form HD is, of course, just ask on the side, and of course, somebody in the chat will definitely be able to help you out. But a lot of people know how to ask Form HD questions. As soon as they find out, oh wow, this person's missing that, boom, they jump into the next step, but they forget about the disturb. So this is where I find the key area to ask, the key place and time to ask questions is right here after you found the need. So how do you find need and then disturb them in the most effective way? Well, what we want to do is we actually want to find someone's priorities. What I'm about to show you and the questions I'm going to ask, I want you guys to ask and use this exactly the way it's actually shown. And of course, if you have been taught a different way, that's absolutely fine. Use the way that is working for you. If what you have right now and what you are doing is working, my theory is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if you're finding that you're getting stuck a lot in the prospecting phase of things and you're having issues connecting with people, finding out about needs and actually getting them to come along or being open to this, then try this out, because I found for myself this works with nearly everyone. And I love this method because I can slip it into conversation anywhere. You know, I've used this for prospects and I've used this for people who are already in my team. I've used this dating the opposite sex, and you know, it works for pretty much anything and everything, and I'm sure it will work for you guys too if you're willing to trust it and try it out and actually practice it and put it into practice. So I'm going to give you guys a moment while I'm asking this question. So what are some of the key priorities that you think people have in their lives? I want you guys to write this into the chat. What are some of the most important priorities that you think people have in their lives right now? What are some things that they need that you think that USANA can provide them? I want you to try and write this down in the chat. I'm going to give it a little bit of a rest. I'm going to give it a little bit of a few seconds, and I want you guys to put this into the chat, and I'm going to check if what you have is the same as what I have. All right, I think that's long enough of a pause. I'm sure most of you guys will see things as it comes along. All right, I know there's a bit of a delay. Great, so I'm seeing them come out now. Money, family, different things like that. Great. So here's the list of what I find is the most important priorities that people have in their lives and that they need right now. Oh, sorry. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. All right. First and foremost, of course, we know it's health. Yes, everyone knows that health is super, super important. Financial freedom. A lot of you guys said money. More time. Having their own business, to meet more people, personal development, early retirement, and of course that's meant to be leave a legacy, right? I wrote own business twice, my mistake. But you'll find that every single person's priorities actually fits into one of these categories. Would you guys agree that this is probably one of the most all-encompassing things that people will want? Whatever they're looking for, whether it be more time or whatnot, it's all going to be in this list. Now, the way that I was taught this was to actually show them a list, but you might not absolutely need that. You'll find that a lot of the old business cards for USANA actually have this list of things printed on the back of them because this method was very widely used. Excuse me. However, what you find is that you might not always be necessarily need to sit down and actually show them this list of priorities. So what you can do is, of course, ask them what they currently do right now. I always like asking, so what do you do right now? And they'll tell me, and I'll ask them, well, is that a career or just a job? And I'll ask them, is that your number one priority right now? And so, of course, I'm going to get into the 5 questions that you need to ask right now. But, of course, the very first question you want to be asking is, what is your number one priority? All right, what is your number one priority? You can either show them the list and ask them to pick one if you have the rapport, or you can just ask them, so what do you do right now? And when they tell you, say, that's fantastic. So is that just a job for you, or is that your career? Let them answer. And then, of course, ask follow up with, of course, is that your number one priority? And if they say yes, fantastic, move on to the next question. If it is not, then ask them, so what is your number one priority then? Ask them, find out, and you'll find that whatever they answer you is going to sink into, it's going to fit into one of those categories that we showed you before in the previous slide. So first and foremost, what is your number one priority? And when they tell you, you ask them, why that one? Really find out from them why that one. You really need to find out what it is about that makes it such a number one priority for them. Now, a lot of people are not going to give you the deepest, darkest secrets straight off the bat. Even people who you have good rapport with might not want to dig that deep with you, and so you really need to be the one to help dig a little bit deeper. So you don't want to just be asking, what is your number one priority? And they say more shoes, and you're like, great, why that one? You know what I mean? And then you move on from more shoes. Do you know what I mean? So you really want to ask, why do you want more shoes? Or if someone says, I would love to travel, that's definitely my number one priority. I want to travel more. So that's fantastic. A lot of people will take that, oh, you want to more travel more? Let me tell you about this Usana thing, blah, 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 and then go straight into the presentation from that point. So no, stop and ask this next question. What is your number one priority? And then why that one? Find out exactly why it is they want what they want. And when they tell you why it is they want what they want, ask them, is that important to you? Or why is that important to you? Yes, I understand why you want it, but why is that so important for you to have? I talk to a lot of people, and you'll be surprised that, people don't ask them these questions. And so remember earlier we were talking about you really need to learn to listen. Well, when you ask these questions, as soon as you ask, I want you guys to do one thing for me. Shut up. Do not cut them off. Let them talk. Please, for the love of God, when you ask the questions, please listen and really listen to what they're trying to tell you. More often than not, when you start this line of questioning, no one has ever asked them these questions before. And they're actually finding it really surprising that someone really wants to know about them and cares enough to ask them these kind of questions. And so when they're telling you, do not interrupt and actually listen. And then next, so what would it mean to you if you couldn't achieve it? I find this is one of the key questions. Now, you're really pushing the hot button right here. So they've told you what the number one priority is, why it's important to them, and you'll really want to find out what would it mean to you if you couldn't achieve it. You're not trying to tell them that, what, I don't think you're going to get it. That's not what you're trying to say. You're trying to say that, let's assume that nothing changed and 5, 10 years down the track, you are still where you are right now. What would it mean to you to have not achieved, whether it be that financial freedom or that time freedom, or to have more time with your family or better health? What would that actually mean to you? You want to be able to ask these questions. I usually reserve these trainings for face-to-face because I like to do a live demonstration where I'm actually asking someone these questions, so to show my team exactly how it's done. A lot of them have also seen me do this in person with their prospects or during a presentation where I'm asking these questions, and they find that it's a very, very useful way to really open someone up. And this question is the one that usually chokes people up a lot. When they start really digging deep and you've got that rapport and they're answering you and they're really digging deep about what it is that is important to them, you'll find that it can get a little bit emotional. At a time like that, it is not your job to stop them. It's your job to just listen and just be present in that moment and really listen to what they're telling you. Last but not least, does that worry you? So these 5 questions again. What is your number one priority? Why that one? Is that important to you? What would it mean to you if you couldn't achieve it? And does that worry you? If you guys want to read up more on this, then let me know a little bit later on. I can tell you the book that I got this from. But putting it into practice, these 5 questions, when I first learned this method, I found it a little bit awkward. I was like, this doesn't really work. But because I was committed to trying something new, I kept practicing and I kept trying. I kept asking these questions to the point where it became second nature. It became part of my vocabulary. It just became a part of my normal conversation to actually ask these questions to people. And you'll find that you can do this with anyone, anywhere, once you have the right rapport and they're willing to answer you. And if you ask it in a good way, you're going to find that you build such a strong connection with this person that they're going to tell you absolutely everything. And so these are the 5 questions I want you to ask in that particular order. You're going to find that with the why that one and is that important to you, you might need to go back and forth a little bit, a few times, because they might want to dodge around this. Now, with a lot of people, they're not very good emitters. They're not very good at admitting what they really need in their lives. So they're going to give you a lot of fluff. They're going to give you a lot of surface level stuff. And so you really need to ask, well, why that one? And is that important to you? Maybe once or twice or a few times, depending on how open they are, before you really get to their number one priority. But once you get there, you'll know it because you know the difference in them. You'll be able to see their entire body language changes. The way they speak will change. They'll really actually start telling what's actually inside versus just what's on top. And so those are the 5 questions. All right. So after you've done the need and disturb, build rapport, need and disturb, that is the part you actually start offering the solution. This is when you need to offer that solution. So it goes along something the lines of, after you ask, so does that worry you? And they'll say, well, yeah, of course it does worry me. Why else, would I tell you? Well, they say, well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing with me. I really appreciate your honesty. And the reason I'm asking is because, I might have someone who can help you out. My friend, his name is blah, blah, blah. And of course, that's when you edify your leader and you actually offer the solution. And you ask them, if I have a way of helping you be able to get that, would you be open to taking a look? Now, that changes the entire paradigm from asking, oh, so what's missing in your life right now? Oh, wow, okay, oh, so you're working out at the gym? Hey, I got this great product, and jumping straight into the solution versus now having this conversation. So when they say, oh, you're gymming, so why did you start gymming? Why are you starting to work out? Well, why is that important to you, So what's your health goal? What's your biggest priority in terms of achieving your health? So what would it mean to you if you couldn't do that? Does it worry you, if you couldn't get that? And then you offer the solution, this entirely changes the way your prospect reacts to you because you've put them first now. Because you've gone through this knit and disturb phase, you've actually put them first, and they understand that you're actually trying to help them. The biggest disconnect when we try to offer someone the solution and when we invite a person is they don't really know what they're doing. Yes, you might be able to drag them to a health and freedom. Yes, you might be able to trick them to come to your house for a one-on-one. Or yes, you might be able to lie to them and say, oh, let's just go get a coffee. All of a sudden, your upline shows up with a PowerPoint presentation, but it doesn't really help. And so if you actually do this, they know exactly where they're going and why they're going. They know that they're going to come to a health and freedom, or they're coming to meet your upline, or they're coming over to your place to take a look at a possible solution to their own problem. They actually understand that this is something that they really, really want themselves, and they see that you are trying to help them actually get that solution. So of course, offering the solution. So now, how do we actually invite? Now, is there any questions so far? Just of course, leave them in the side for me, and of course, Josie will help me, ask them at the end of this presentation. And so yes, offering the actual solution now. So after you've gone through all of that, now you need to offer the actual solution and the invite itself. And so the purpose of the invite, of course, is to get your prospect to a meeting, which I mean like a health and freedom, a two-on-one, or what we call an ABC with your upline, or a one-on-one maybe you can do with a DVD or a health and freedom solutions or something like that. So we want the whole point of actually offering the invite now, making the invite, is to actually sit them down somewhere where they're open-minded enough now to actually take a look at what you have to offer. And so keep it keep it very short. You do not want to be stuck there trying to make that invite over a long period of time, and then they're going to ask you lots of questions about, so what is it, what is it, what is it? You want to keep it nice and short. And of course, the invite doesn't need to happen directly after you do the need and disturb. You might be able to just have that conversation with them, do the need and disturb, maybe even offer some of your own thoughts, and say, you know what, thank you so much for sharing. For myself, my number one priority has always been this, and etc., etc. And tell them a little bit about yourself. Open up, and then have a really nice conversation and end the conversation right there. Maybe the next day. So usually follow up between 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours. Maybe the next day, or maybe in 2 days' time, you give them another call, and that's when you make the invite. So then hey, remember that conversation we had the other day, and then so on and so forth. You want to create curiosity, but not satisfy. You want them to basically be curious and make them interested in what you have by actually offering this solution after you found the need. And of course, you want to be enthusiastic yourself. I think that I might have something which could really help you out. Are you free Thursday or Friday night, etc., etc.? Be enthusiastic and just be like, oh, okay, that's nice. So anyway, I got this thing Thursday night. There's this Josie person. She's gonna do this talk about health, and then there's this Kate lady. She talks really fast. She's British. You want to be enthusiastic. You don't want to just be low, and you don't want to be boring, okay? You want to actually, after you've had this conversation, really open up and get them to that meeting. Get them there so they can actually see something which can truly help them out. Be confident. Know in your heart you're actually offering them something which can change their lives. Myself, I am 100%, more than 100% a believer in these products, in this opportunity, because of what it's done for me. The products have completely changed and saved my life. The business has transformed my life. And so I know for a fact that if someone is willing to give USANA a go, I can help them with USANA, not just improve their lives, but improve their health, improve all aspects of their lives. And so be confident that you are actually offering them something that is of value and of worth. So never be not confident in offering this amazing opportunity of Usana with people. Know what you have, know your worth, know your value, and be bold and daring when you tell people and you offer this solution. And of course, always consider their needs and always bring it back to that hotspot. Make them understand that this is what they're coming for. Makes them understand that this is why you invite them to this thing. This is why they need to show up to this thing. It is for their needs. It is for their priority. It is for their thing that they find so important to them. All right, so make that. And of course, use the 1 and 2 method when finalizing the actual invite. Always offer a 1 and 2. You do not want to ask, so when are you free? Because then someone will tell you, well, give me a call in about 3 to 6 months, or give me a call next year. Right now I'm a bit busy. I'm trying to finish uni, or I've just got a new job. Maybe give me 6 months. And so you're never gonna get that invite. So always use the 2 in 1. Offer 2 things and let them choose one. Always ask, so when are you free? Thursday or Friday? Which day is better for you? Saturday or Sunday? Great, Saturday, fantastic. How about 1 or 2? How about 3 or 4 in the afternoon? What time's better for you, morning or afternoon? And give them 2 places. So what will be better? Maybe we can meet in Burwood, or maybe Bankstown, or can we meet in Castle Hill, or Cabramatta? Maybe we can meet in Sans Souci or the city, etc., etc. Always offer them 2 options and let them pick one, rather than just say, so when are you free? Or is Thursday good? Then they can just say no. But if you offer them 2 things, even if the 2 days are not so good, you'll find that a lot of people are willing to give you another option. All right, so always use that 1 and 2 method. And of course, last but not least is about actual close. And so with the whole process of these 4 steps, start with the building rapport. It takes as long as it takes. And once you have that rapport, you can ask them the need and disturb question, which is the 5 questions that I showed you guys before about finding someone's priority. Now, you'll find that if you start to ask these need and disturb questions and they're not very open, and no matter how much you're trying to get at it, or no matter how many times you're trying to repeat it, they're just not feeling it. They're not answering you. Then what that is telling you is that there is not enough rapport. So go back to building rapport. No business talk. Don't talk about the product. Don't talk about the business. Don't talk about anything like that. Go back to building rapport. Go back to building trust. Talk about concepts. Talk about ideas. Talk about yourself. Talk about each other, rather than actually trying to really go for that pushing of the hot button. Because unless you have the right amount of rapport, if you try to push someone's hot button, they're just going to think you're a jerk. And so we don't want to be jerks. So make sure you have the right amount of rapport before you move to need and disturb. And if at any point you feel a lot of what I'm trying to say, conflict, if you feel a lot of people coming up against you and trying to stop you from asking these questions, stop. Go back to building rapport, and never jump from building rapport into that solution. So once you have the need and disturb, then you can offer the solution. And then last but not least, of course, the actual presentation itself. And of course, when we say close, we mean actually help them open their business. So the question now is, where do you think you should spend most of the time? Now, in the way I was previously taught, especially in the Chinese community, was that the majority of the time needs to be spent on offering the solution. You need to be a product expert. You need to know all about the plan. You need to sit down with them for 2-3 hours, answering all their objections, answering all their questions until they're ready to sign. And so that was where they placed the focus. So they trained me very well in presenting the opportunity and presenting the products and learning all about diseases and learning about vitamin nutritional deficiencies and which product is good for which disease, etc., etc., etc. However, I was finding that even with all that technical knowledge, if I can't get someone to be open and sit down to listen to me, what is the whole point? And so previously I was taught to focus on the solution. However, when I discovered this method, I found that I could spend 90% of my time on building rapport and the need and disturb, and then by the time you get to the solution, they're pretty much ready to sign already. I've had multiple times where after I finished the need and disturb, I had the person tell me, you know what, Raman, I don't care what it is, just tell me what I need to do. And that was one of the most amazing things. I remember I was in a car ride with one of my close friends, and I was asking him these questions and doing these things. By the end of the car ride, and he goes, look, I don't know what you do, but it sounds like you know exactly how to get what I'm looking for. So can you please help me? And he was ready to sign up on the spot. So you find that if you do the building rapport and the need and disturb properly, the solution and the close all that stuff gets taken care of. That becomes so much easier. So rather than focusing on the solution and the close, I want you guys to focus on building rapport and the need and stir. That's not to say that you don't need to know how to offer a solution or how to close, but of course, the majority of your time needs to be on building rapport and need and stir. And like I said at the beginning of this presentation, I was talking about say less to more. You can be in this building rapport phase with 100 different people at the same time, and they're all at different levels of rapport. You know, if you think about this in terms of a spectrum, 0 being that they have nothing to do or they want nothing to do with you and Usana, and 10 being that they are ready to go and sign up right now, you can have different people at varying degrees of that scale. You don't need to just focus on one person from a 0 to a 10 before you move on to the next person. I find a lot of people do that. And Jim Rohn talks about sowing, the law of sowing and reaping, right? And he talks about the sower, and he had good seed and he kept on sowing. Now, if you think about that in terms of sowing and farming, a lot of us in USANA, or especially in network marketing, are actually really bad farmers. Instead of planting a whole bunch of seed, watering everything, fertilizing everything, and seeing which one grows, we plant one seed and then we water it and we fertilize it, and then when it doesn't grow, we fertilize it some more and water some more. 6 months later, when it really doesn't grow, then we try to plant another seed. Actually, you know what? Before you plant the second seed, you probably have a cry about the first seed first, then you'll plant the second seed. And so if we were actual farmers, a lot of people in network marketing today, and in Usana as well, we'd be starving. We'd be starving to death. And so the right way to farm and the right way to do this and prospect is to say less to more. Throw a whole bunch of seeds out to a whole bunch of different people, water everything, fertilize everything, and then take care of the ones which grow. Rather than focusing on one person at a time or 2 people at a time, talk to everyone you know and see which one's interested. They will let you know whether or not they're a product user, whether or not they're an associate, or whether or not they're going to be one of your team leaders, or whether they're going to be absolutely nothing. They will let you know. And so, in summary, how much time do I have? I don't have that much time. Okay. So, in summary, first and foremost, have the right attitude. Make sure that you put yourself in the position of a problem solver. I cannot stress this enough. Too often, especially with new people, they feel so much pressure to finish their platinum run or get someone to health and freedom that they completely change their attitude. They go from someone who's trying to help someone to someone who's trying to sell someone. And we are so used to being sold to, especially in this 21st century. As soon as someone tries to sell something to us, we know. We have a sixth sense. If we have it, other people have it too. So if you're trying to do that to somebody else, they're going to feel it too, and they're going to get annoyed, or they're just going to be very closed off. And all of a sudden, you're not going to have much opportunity talking to them. So of course, have the right attitude. Try to solve a problem. All right? You're in position of a problem solver. Next, ask the right questions. So what are the right questions? Well, you can start with those 5, but you're going to find that the whole conversation process and the prospecting process is very fluid, and it's very dynamic. Based on what they're saying to you, you might be able to skip entire parts. Based on what they're saying to you, you might need to move in a completely different direction or a completely different tangent. So it's very important to really listen to someone. Always listen to what they're telling you. A lot of times when you ask these questions, people are yelling out for help. Most people, we have big egos. A lot of people have a lot of pride and a lot of ego. They don't want to be seen as someone who's willing to take charity. They don't want to seem like I need help. And when they need help, they don't want to ask for it. And so they'll try to ask for help in a lot of different ways. It's a cry for help in a lot of ways that are basically blinded by us, because we're not actually looking for it. Because we're not in the position of a problem solver, we're not looking for the problem. But if you have the right attitude and you ask the right questions and you really listen to them, you're going to find that a lot of the people around you are desperately seeking help. They want someone to offer this product to them. They want someone to offer this opportunity to them. But they don't want to come out and say, oh, I really need help. Somebody help me. And so it's up to you to ask these questions and to build that rapport and open them up and make them admit to themselves that they need help, so that they will actually take the steps necessary to actually get started with something like this. And of course, focus on the right issues. And of course, the right issues is always going to be their issues. The wrong issues are how good USANA is. We're pharmaceutical grade. Dr. Wentz's vision. Yes, Dr. Wentz's vision, all that stuff becomes very, very important when you do the presentation. But during the prospecting process, the right issue is not how good our product is not how good our compensation plan is, it's not how many billions of dollars you signed and made last year, it's not how much you can, all that stuff. That's not the important stuff. The important issues when you are prospecting is what is missing and what's lacking in their lives. What is their number one priorities? What is their focus? And if you can make that shift and really tell them and show them how much you care, they're going to really care about how much you know. And so I think that's pretty much it for this part here. I'm sure if you guys have a lot of questions, I'm going to leave the last 5 or 10 minutes or so in terms of answering this question. If you want to keep in contact with me or you've got other questions that I'm not going to be able to answer tonight, you can always add me on Facebook. And of course, part 2 is presenting and handling objections. That's going to be on 3rd of August. And part 3 is following up team culture, which is going to be on the 10th of August. And so, Josie, if you're still there, would you mind taking over and let me know if there's any questions in particular that I need to be answering or anything like that. Otherwise, I am just gonna wait.
Hi, Raman. I think
Yes.
everybody's so overwhelmed. Just, I mean, to say with the really amazing training, it's so clear. So I'm so glad that you've allowed us to record it so people can listen to it over and over and we can use it for training. We do appreciate your time. And so we were looking forward to Monday and the Monday week. Appreciate it. And thanks everybody for joining the call. So good night, Australia and around the world. Thank you, Raman Chen.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for your time.